start with questions. I don't see Ms. DeLauro here yet for her opening statement, so Mr. Cuellar, the floor is yours for 8 minutes for questions of the Secretary.
Thank you, sir. Again, on the oversight provisions that we've had, detention, all that we had. Look, right now we know. Look, next year there might be a different chairman here, and we are certainly going to put it in the chairman's mark on this. But you voted on this, I assume, when you were in the House and the Senate, because we've had a lot of those provisions. You know, standards in detentions, the protections that we talked about yesterday. You know, we added under what I call the Trump 1 administration 6 protections: SpaceX, the chapel, and all of those protections that we have down there in the Valley. They've been there since Trump 1. We negotiated with under the Trump 1, the secretary that was there in your place. And we added those protections. But then when the reconciliation came in, some folks were saying, well, you know, those dollars are outside Congress, so we're going to go ahead and do that. In the chairman's mark, the way I understand it, we did put language there in the chairman's mark saying that those areas will be protected. Texas has 1,200 miles of border, and we just want those 1 mile here, 1 mile here, 1 mile here, be protected. And I'm hoping you can work with us dealing with those reconciliation dollars.
Thank you, Ranking Member. The reconciliation dollars and appropriation dollars are by statute 2 separate funding. It has 2 separate regulations. Same thing with detention centers and reporting language. We know the difference, and honestly, it's kind of a quagmire because we have to deal with so many different statutories. It would be easy if we just had one. Yeah. And just move forward. I would prefer that because it'd be an easier way for us to report, but bureaucracy gets in its way. We understand that. The wall, my number 1 job is to protect the homeland. And I'm telling you, Ranking Member, I love my job. I love that President Trump gave me this opportunity. I wake up every single day and I get to protect my yard just like I protect your backyard, people in California, people in New York, people in Oklahoma. I look at it all the same. It's part of homeland. And we strive every single day. My deputy, Troy Egger, who is truly invaluable to me, we talk on a daily basis on the best way to deliver this. Rodney Scott, the head of CBP, we're meeting almost daily on the wall. Our thing that we're seeing with the wall is the cartels are always changing, and they're a threat. There's not 1 inch of Mexico's northern border that isn't covered by a plaza. Plaza is cartels, 9 cartels that control it. And they have plaza centers, they call it plazas, that they have plaza bosses, and they're always looking for vulnerabilities to push human trafficking and drug trafficking across our border. And they're getting very good at it. They're even using UAS now. We just discovered our first tunnel in years because our wall is being effective. We are pushing them into what we consider choke points. So the more walls we put, the more we can focus on trafficked areas. And we take a hard look at this. And there's members on this committee that has called me about it, and there's committee and other people throughout the House and the Senate that when you call, I answer the phone. If we got to go out there and take a look at specific areas, we will do that. I've been on helos, traveling those borders. We've been in vehicles traveling those borders to see where are the most sensitive areas, because we want to be cognitive of the surrounding areas, but we also got to take in first and foremost the safety of the homeland. And those are always something that we take in consideration when we're looking for any type of corridor.
Yes, sir. And I'm with you. I live there. I don't just go visit the border.
Yes, sir.
And I would love to have you go down to Laredo. And if you would allow me, we'll find a time to go visit.
Do it.
And Mexican food is pretty good down there.
I agree, but I just found out that queso is maybe like an Oklahoma thing, white queso.
Hey, we'll take any import from that. But I love to have you down there if you make the time, and we'll invite the chairman down there.
Sir, I'll do it. We can do it as a committee with the chair, however we want to do it. I'll absolutely do that.
Yeah, and look, and let me just talk about a couple things on the border. And again, I'm with you on security on the border. Problem is the river goes this way. This is a border wall. What happens is, imagine if you were in Oklahoma, had property here, and they would take all this away. The middle of the river is actually the boundary. We're not going to put a fence in the middle of the river. We're not going to put it at the riverbanks because they will get washed off. The thing is, this is where they put the actual fence at. If you look at it, and I've taken planes just following down here with Michael McCall, this is the way the river is. And when you put a fence over here, you're just taking things away from property that's been there. Laredo, for example, was built in 1755, a little older than our country, and all we want is go down there, let's look at the best way to provide security down there. And that's all we're asking when you go down there is just sit down with the folks there. We're patriots down there. We've been around for a long time. We live there. We just want you to come down and sit and spend a little bit of time with us there.
Ranking Member, actually, the deputy just got back from there yesterday. He spent a day and a half down there. The issue that we run into is the people look at the river as being the exact location of the border. It's not. The river is moved. And when we're talking about putting a barrier, we fought this in Trump 45 when we first started looking at surveying this. And the question was, do we follow what we consider the natural barrier is the river, or what actually the lines were when we drawed them, back 200 years ago? It was because of some of the court rulings, it came to that we have to look at where our actual border is, and that goes back to the Roosevelt line. So when we start looking at the Roosevelt line is where we try to put it at. And there's some circumstances where we can't always run the Roosevelt line, but where we can, we do. But that's where we try to run is our true border line.
Right. And we have fences down there in the valley, with the exceptions of those 6 exemptions that I talked about. There's our numbers from Border Patrol. Even with the fences, look at the heat maps. You still have people addressing. And if you ask any Border Patrol chief, I haven't asked this Border Patrol, but I've asked Border Patrol chiefs from Bush 1 all the way up to except for this current one. And I've asked them, how long does a border fence slow down somebody? And they have always said from a few seconds to a few minutes. So again, I'm for border security. I got about 20 seconds left because I'm going to make sure we follow this. But look, we can talk about it. I'm for border security. You're for borders. All I ask you is go down there. I understand Tom Holman was down there also in Laredo. Appreciate notifications before instead of hearing that from my mayor and other folks. But I ask you to go down there and spend a little bit of time with our communities.
We will do that, and we are addressing the primary wall. That's why we're putting in the wall system now, which is called the secondary wall too, because the cartels have been exposing it. We're putting in smart fences, which allows us to respond when they're tampering with the wall. The second wall, which is the primary wall, which will still be within our footprint, we're constructing it sometimes at the same time. Partly, we're going to have to come back and do it, but we'll all have it done before President Trump is out of office. We'll have the complete primary and secondary wall done. And that gives us time when they cut the fence, we can react because they're doing it in very rural areas. We can react before they can get past the secondary wall. And we know how many we're dealing with. Plus, we're using UAS now to put up with heat sensors to be able to track them and see what we're dealing with. So you're absolutely correct. The cartels have got really good, but that's what they do. They're criminals. And so every time you do something, they try to figure out a way to get around it. And we're going to defeat them at every turn.
My time is up. Thank you. By the way, according to FBI statistics, Laredo is the safest city in Texas. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you in Laredo.